I'm Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to another Berks County Commissioners Weekly Update. Our topic today is the Berks County Emergency Rental Assistance Program. We're broadcasting live on BCTV, Microsoft Teams live event, Facebook, and YouTube Live. At this time, I want to recognize my executive assistant, Mary Buer. Nothing like live television. Since Mary either can't get on or isn't there, I will read the comments or questions must be germane to the topic being discussed and include your full name and municipality where you reside. If you are from the media, please put your name and who you are with. Non-media participants, please limit your questions and comments to one per person. Just give me a second here. So today is a topic that we've dealt with probably since early summer. Commissioner Rivera, the Redevelopment Authority, Berks Coalition to End Homelessness have all been involved in this. But in the past month or so, additional funds have been made available. I might add, significant amount of money has been made available to deal with this critical issue, not just here in Berks County, but across the country. I'm pleased to recognize at this time Commissioner Michael Rivera. Commissioner Rivera has done a great job leading the effort, working with our key partners on the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and he's here today to lead the discussion. I don't know if we call this the Berks County Emergency Rental Assistance Program Part 2, but it is in essence a second part of the program. Commissioner Michael Rivera, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Leinbach, and welcome everyone who's watching this show today. We have some very important information that we ask. One, that you learn about this program, and two, also help us get this information out. As Commissioner Leinbach said, there have been other programs in reference to rental relief here in the county, as the state as well. This one is a little bit different than the prior program that we had. During the prior program, which was run by PHFA and was state funded, this is federally funded, and the U.S. Treasury has given the counties more liberty to set the parameters for this program, which has allowed then for the counties to determine what the needs are in their county and how to better set up the program to serve the needs of their county specifically. And I'm going to ask Ken in a little bit to talk about this, but we set up our parameters, which may differ from other counties surrounding us. And Ken and the Redevelopment Authority went through a process to be able to determine what the best parameters would be to meet the needs of people in Berks County. So before we move on, and I'm going to ask Ken to speak, I want to first introduce Ken Pick. That's his picture will come up shortly. He is the Executive Director of the Berks County Redevelopment Authority. And our other guest is Jack Williams, who is the Executive Director of the Berks Coalition to End Homelessness. And his picture is up there on the screen right now. So Ken and Jack, welcome to our weekly update.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'm saying that we are excited and yet somewhat overwhelmed. We have, between state money coming from the state and money coming directly from the U.S. Treasury, over $27 million. Let me state that again. Over $27 million to help Berks County residents with their back rent, their back utilities, rent going forward, and utilities going forward. Of course, there are income requirements, but again, we have a significant amount of money to help those people that have been negatively affected financially by COVID-19. We can pay, again, back rent going forward, back utilities, and utilities going forward. There are, the application will be online. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to see if Jack wanted to say anything before we get started here with the discussion.
No, I'm fine. Ken's doing a great job of introducing it, Commissioner Rivera, so I'll jump in when I can fill in some more of the details and more of what gets into the weeds in the application process.
Okay, sounds good. So Ken, getting back to the numbers, you said we have over 27 million. Part of that is federal and part of that is state, correct? And some of it may have different guidelines than the other?
You're correct, Commissioner. It's actually all federal money. Some came directly, 12 million came directly from the U.S. Treasury to the county. The other federal funds are coming from the federal government to the state back to the county. That's about $15 million. And with the state allocation back to the county, there's a little bit of tweaks we may have to make in the guidelines. I don't think it's going to be a great deal of difference, but we're still waiting for some guidance and instructions from the state on what we may have to change a little bit or tweak or revise a little bit for the use of the over $15 million coming from the state.
Okay. Now, Jack, you're the executive director of the Berks Coalition 10 Homelessness. Talk to us a little bit about why is this program so important for our community, especially as we continue to face the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Is this program needed? Why is it important? Why is it needed?
It's tremendously needed, Commissioner Rivera. And it's targeted to be a financial assistance. It can be very, very manipulative to help those that are experiencing arrears. And as Ken said, the intent was from the government to help those most financially impacted by COVID, loss of hours, reduce of hours, on unemployment, loss of job, and those people that were struggling to make ends meet. And the nice thing about this program is that it can help the landlords become whole again. They were obviously tremendously impacted by the economic impact and also the restriction on evictions. But then it can also help going forward. So it can provide that financial assistance, not necessarily tied to like an unemployment or even a stimulus package. So once you understand the impact or the intent of the program, it's very, very encouraging and will be of great assistance for the next 7 to 8 to 10 months in Berks County.
Okay, and that's good to know because the goal is to be able to keep people in their residences rather than having them evicted and then having to find other housing for them, have them move. This all has an impact, especially on families with kids if they have to change schools. So it's not ideal to be able to have to find housing for people if you're evicted, but rather keep them in the housing that they're in right now so that family nucleus and the way they're living remains intact, at least through they're going through this difficult situation.
Absolutely, housing stability, keeping them in the homes that they're already used to, keeping them in the school districts that their children are enrolled in. It's the number one intent to avoid that eviction process, that upheaval, and the impact that an eviction process and that move has on a family or even an individual.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the basics of the program. Either Ken or Jack, whoever wants to jump in. Who's eligible for this program and what type of costs? I know we spoke a little bit about what type of costs are covered. There's rent, but there's some other things that are covered as well. So who's eligible and what types of costs are covered in this program?
Jack, why don't you go first, and then we'll do it like a tag team here. Go ahead. I'll fill it.
Okay, so the beautiful thing about this, about what we're calling it, Commissioner Rivera, the ERAP program, Emergency Rental Assistance Program. As long as you are at 80% of AMI, which is tremendously flexible as compared to other programs that might be at 50% of area median income, or even 30% in some government programs. This is at 80% of area median income. So it's very flexible, meaning it's going to help more people. There are going to be more people that are eligible for it. It's got some priorities set that if a family member of an income wage earner in the family has experienced homelessness in the past 60 to 90 days, or is living in a house or a living arrangement that's unsuitable, but it doesn't have the tremendous amount of paperwork and guidelines that other federal programs have. So we will be able to help more people, especially in the little bit upper levels of the income in the income guidelines. Ken, you want to add what?
That's correct, Jack. Much more flexible, with some strings, of course. And let me make it clear that the program can assist with up to 12 months of assistance, either rent or utilities, or rent and utilities. For example, if you're behind 5 months in your rent, the program can pay those 5 months of arrears and then 7 months going forward. So it's a 12 months to help, no matter how you slice and dice it, you're going to get 12 months of assistance if you're eligible. And again, it can be utilities or rent and utilities, or some kind of combination. But again, 12 months in total of assistance.
Okay, so, and Ken, would that also help if someone is 5 months behind on their rent? There's late fees in there, or someone's behind on the utilities, there's late fees in there. Will the program cover the late fees as well?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will, Commissioner. Yes, we want to catch people up so they're current, and then continue to help them to be current for whatever remaining months are out of the 12 months.
Okay, and I know in the prior program, the amount of rent covered was $750 a month. What are the limits on this program to cover for rent and to cover for utility assistance?
Jack, go ahead.
It will be higher, Commissioner Rivera. With what we're going to use is our discerning factor will be what's on the current lease. Whatever they're paying on their current lease, that's in action, that's keeping them in that apartment at that point in time, that will be the amount per month. So it's got much greater flexibility there on the higher levels in some areas in Berks County. That the $750 per month rental was just not able to be of assistance. So.
Yeah, so I know. Go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, as far as utilities, we have it capped at $750 per month, which should be, $750 per month should be enough to cover your gas, electric, water, sewer. So the utilities we have capped.
Okay, but not the rent. And this will help with more landlords being willing to participate in this program, because the landlords have to accept the participation in this program. Because with the last program, they were capped at $750. So if the rent was $1,000, they were losing $250 per month. With this one, the amount being whatever is in the lease amount, that will help more landlords being open to participating in this program, therefore being able to help more people out. So
Absolutely correct, Commissioner Rivera. And what Ken's office and our office did, we put our two experience in rental assistance together to customize this program to what we felt would best help Berks County residents. There are some general parameters that we must fit for the U.S. Treasury, but we were able to customize it and to make it as flexible, and also to remove as many barriers as possible.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and when you eliminate those barriers, both for the landlord and the tenant, you have more people participating in the program, which is the goal of this, again, to keep people in their homes. So are there, and you probably have a lot of people that will start requesting this assistance. Are there priority categories? If you get 200 applications, how are you going to prioritize who you serve first?
Commissioner, there are some priorities, but we'll prioritize, all the approved applications on probably a 2-week period. Every 2 weeks, we'll go through the approved applications, prioritize, pay the ones that are highest in the priority list first, and then go down through. I say that, but I don't anticipate that if you're approved, that you will not receive assistance. We just have to prioritize according to the federal regulations, and we'll do that. But unless, Jack, you have a different opinion, I don't think anyone who's approved is not going to get assistance. Do you?
No, Ken, I agree 100%. There'll be a priority who gets their application pushed to the top, but I believe everybody will be funded, especially at first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's good to know, because although it is a first come, first serve basis program, like Ken said earlier, there's close to over $27 million for this program out there. So that's really great. Jack or Ken, if I need to apply for this program, how do I apply? What documents do I need to have for the application?
Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, so the application process is designed to be an online process. There'll be a portal on our website, it's a very simple website, BCEH, that's Bob Charles Edward Hat.org, and there'll be that application along with some FAQs and some simple instructions. If the tenant or is eligible, can do it, can have access to the computer, have access to the internet. Everything can be done online. You don't have to leave your home. However, we've also prepared for those that can't. We want to make sure that this is eligible to anybody in Berks County. So if they cannot enter it online and cannot upload a couple of required documents, they can come into our office. We can help them fill out the application in our office, or we can even give them a paper copy, and then we'll enter the data. But we've tried to make sure that every situation that could possibly occur for tenants is handled. The one thing that I would want to point out, Commissioner Rivera, is that for the first time, maybe Ken can correct me, in my experience, that for rental assistance, they do not have to be in arrears. So it's, we know that people are struggling. We know that incomes have been reduced. We know that some people, even though their income's reduced or had to go on unemployment, that they've still been able to make and keep current on their rent. So some people could possibly get confused with this, Commissioner Rivera, that, oh, well, I can't use it. I can't apply for the program because I'm current. I don't owe any back rent. So that's one point we would want to make sure that that both tenants and landlords understand the availability of that.
Jack, you're exactly correct. It's very interesting that you really don't have to be in arrears for either rent or utilities. As long as you meet the qualifications, you're eligible or could be eligible. Now, I will say, if that's the situation, you may be at the bottom of the priority list, but you're probably still going to get funded. You're probably still going to get funded.
Okay, so that's good to know. It's a matter of you being affected negatively, economically by COVID. You're having difficulties paying your rent and or your utilities, but you're not necessarily behind. You still qualify for the program.
Correct.
Right.
Correct, Commissioner.
Okay, great. And so I'm going. I'm assuming I'm going to the Berks Coalition 10 Homelessness website, which is bceh.org, to complete the application there. Is that correct? Is that the portal?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. So what documents do I need to be prepared with? One, as a tenant who's applying for this, and two, as a landlord, if my tenant is participating in this, what documents do I as a landlord need to have, and what is my role as a landlord in this process?
Great question. Number one, as far as the tenant is concerned, what we're going to ask for them is for the applicant, not necessarily everyone in their household, not every adult in their household. For the applicant, we're going to want some state ID, obviously. We're going to want some income verification. Now that could be a couple different things. 1 month's worth of bank statements, 1 month's worth of pay stubs, or it could possibly be your tax returns for 2020 that you've already filed. We could use any one of those three that can help determine the eligibility. One other thing that we'd be asking for from the landlord would be a current lease, and obviously the tenant or the landlord could provide that to us. But it's going to be a necessary document. The landlord would also provide us with a register of that tenant's account, a simple Excel spreadsheet or whatever they use for the accounting system that keeps track of that individual tenant's records, so that we can see that number one, that it jives, that it agrees with the lease that has been provided, and then we can see what the arrears have been for how many months, if there are any arrears. And then it will also give us, Commissioner Rivera, if they paid partial, if they paid half of their rent for a couple of months and tried to make as good of an attempt as possible, then we'll make up that other portion. So it's, as far as paperwork, it's very exciting that it's been minimized.
Okay, and I know that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Ken.
I was just saying, I absolutely agree with Jack. It should be very simple, not a lot of documents, some documents that people should already have in their hands or readily available, Commissioner.
Okay. Now, when I go to complete the application, what information will I be expected to provide in that application?
Well, let me take that, Jack. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
I was going to say, it's basic information about you and your household, how you've been affected by COVID. Again, the income documentation, your lease, and then you're going to certify that what you've said is, not basically, you're going to certify that what you've submitted and included is correct and to the best of your knowledge.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. If I applied for the PHFA program and I got money through that PFHA program, but let's say my rent was $1,000, the PFHA program had paid $750 of that, I still owe the difference to my landlord, for 5 or 6 months. Will this program help cover that difference, or can it be used for that?
Well, that's an interesting question. I hadn't even thought about that, Commissioner. That's a good one. I think you've stumped the panel here.
Yeah. What's the next question, Commissioner Rivera?
Okay. So, all right.
No,
So
let
if
me
you
answer
came,
that.
okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry, it wasn't on the list here. Just something that came to mind now while we were discussing this, because I know if you already got rental assistance for a certain month from one program, you cannot use this program for that same time period, correct?
Well, for the same cost. That's an interesting question, and we may have to get back to the audience and you on that. Didn't even think about that, but I see your point. For example, let's say the RRP, the PHFA program paid $750 for October and November and December, but the rent was actually $1,000. Could this program pick up the other $250? We'll have to look at that. I don't know off the top of my head, Jack. I don't know if we want to take a stab at that, but something we need to, actually, it's a good question. We need to research a little bit. I would think.
No, I agree, Ken. We would have to, that would be one of the, the weird circumstances that we would have to figure that out and get our heads together and make sure that, that we can be compliant on that.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this then. I want to complete my application, but I have questions on doing it. Where do I call, Jack? Do you have a special number at the coalition? Is it the main number at the coalition? How do I reach someone there?
Yep. So what we've done recently, we've increased our incoming phone lines. We've increased our staffing. They would still call in at our 610-372-7222 phone number. They can reach us online at our website, info@bch.org. They can stop by at our offices Monday through Friday between 8 and 4 p.m. Because we will be staffed and ready to assist in that application process. We know that there might be some questions that arise. We recognize where most of the places where they possibly have questions. We're going to suggest to the applicants that if they themselves have difficult time, maybe with their computer knowledge, that they get maybe a friend or a neighbor or a relative that could assist. But if they can't, that would still not prevent them, then we would invite them to our offices, or even we could walk them through over the phone.
Okay, so there will be help available. The idea is to not have anyone say, well, I got evicted because I couldn't complete the application and I didn't really have anyone to help me out either.
Correct. It's designed to prevent that from ever happening. They're gonna now we to the best of our ability, we will serve everyone as quickly and as professionally as possible. We might at times have an influx of calls or people even in our office, in our waiting room. Even with COVID, we still have protocols in place to keep everyone safe, but we just ask for some patience. We will get through them all. We will process them as quickly and as promptly as possible. There might be times when they walk in and they're the only one in our office, and we can answer all their questions and get their application in. Sometimes there might be a little bit of a wait, but everyone will get served.
Okay, and that's important. So, and thank you for bringing that up, Jack. It's important to understand that everyone will be served, but do ask for a little bit of patience in case you do have to wait on a call or leave a message and get a call back, or if you go into the offices and need help, you will be helped. But and when you go in, if you're asked to take a certain information, it will also help by you having all the information and documentation that you need so the application can be processed completely. Because if someone completes the application but doesn't provide all the documentation, the application will not be processed. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, Commissioner. So what we would, so let's just use an example that Mrs. Smith, what we would, and is in need of some rental assistance, and let's assume that she qualifies income-wise and is below 80% of adjusted median income. What we would suggest to Mrs. Smith is that she call first, because we will remind them of what documents we would like them to bring along. This way we cut down the frustration of having to make multiple trips. Or even if they're going online and they just decide, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna start applying for it, and then they get to a point where they need to upload something and they go, oh, I don't have that. They can always save their application and come back to it later, but the better prepared they can be, the more they can gather some of this information, you're absolutely correct, then the process will be streamlined, would go with fewer frustrations.
Okay, and the list of what you need will be on the Birch Coalition 10 Homelessness website, so you'll be able to access it there and work on all the documentation that you need.
Correct, front and center, yep.
Okay, Jack, what if someone needs assistance in Spanish or needs the documents in Spanish? Will that be available?
Great question. First of all, the 4 staff members, the 4 full-time staff members we had are all bilingual. The application will be available in English or Spanish. The assistance that we have, the paperwork, the handouts, the printouts will be available in both languages.
Okay, great. So I went in, I spoke with my landlord, I completed my part, the landlord completed his part. How do we know if my application was approved? And what are next steps after completing the application?
Ken, you want to add, you want to take this?
Well, both the landlord and tenant will get an approval notification, probably by email. We need email addresses for everyone that applies, because the system is driven, it's online, it's driven by emails and so forth. So they'll be notified, our office will be notified that they're approved and the amount, and we'll begin issuing the payments, whether to the utilities or to the landlord, depending on what the situation is.
Okay, so,
Everyone will be notified when the person is approved for and how much they're approved for.
okay, so the assistance money does not go to the tenant directly. If it's for utilities, it goes directly to the utility company. If it's for rent, it goes directly to the landlord.
That is correct, Commissioner. That's correct.
Okay. All right, and that's good to know. That way you make sure that the money gets to where it needs to be so that the people get the help that they need. So thank you very much
Right.
on that. Okay.
Sure.
Is there anything else on the program, Ken or Jack, that you want the people to know that I have not asked about?
Commissioner, I think you've hit the high points. I think you've hit, the what people should know as far as the major points.
Mhm.
Obviously, there are little tweaks and things in the actual application, but no, you've done a great job of bringing up the high points and getting that message out. Let me give a shout out to Jack and his team, Commissioner. They've been a great partner. They've cowboyed up and they've been great to work with. They took on this challenge and did what they needed to do to help us and help you meet the needs of the deserving citizens of Berks County. So, Jack, thank you. Thank you to your team for being our partner.
Yes, thank
No,
you. No, go ahead, Jack.
We appreciate it very much. We understand, the responsibility that you've given us, and we take it very seriously. We always collaborate well with the county and obviously with Ken's office, but we hope at the very end that we spend every single dime of the funding that's available, because that means that many people were helped in a very difficult time in our nation's history. So that's our intent, to help as many people as possible that are eligible, and to make sure it gets into the hands so it provides some economic relief.
Okay. Yeah, thank you both
Exactly.
for all the work you did. And I don't know if we mentioned this already, but the two of you didn't just sit down and come up with the guidelines for this program. You spoke with different organizations that provide social services to find out what the needs are and how to best set this up to meet the needs of the county, correct?
That's correct. So obviously, the Treasury had guidelines of what we could fund and what we couldn't fund. But you're right. Then we took that information, sat down with a number of groups to say, well, are we missing anything? What should we tell? What should we do? What about this aspect? What about that aspect? And that worked out very well. To get that feedback and get that information.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you did that you actually went out and spoke to those who are, out there working on this on a daily basis to see how to best serve the needs of the community. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
We do have some questions here, so I will ask my executive assistant, Barbara Lopez, if she can please read the questions and who they're from.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. First question here is from Sean Moretti from Destination Realty, LLC. Will tenants and owners in the city of Reading be able to participate in the program? If yes, will the county manage it, or will the city manage the program separately?
Well, that's a great question from Sean. And this program is available countywide, townships and the city of Reading. It's going to be run, managed by Berks Coalition to End Homelessness and the Redevelopment Authority for all the areas of the county, city, boroughs, and townships.
And Ken, do you want to talk, and I know why Sean asked this question, but some people may not know why this question is being asked. If the city is part of the county, why is he asking if people in the city of Reading can participate of this program if it's a county program? So can you just talk a little bit about why that is, why sometimes you can and sometimes you can't do that?
Sure. In this case, it was the law that was passed provided money directly, grants directly to communities that had over 200,000 in population. Excuse me. Any community, borough, city, county with 200,000 or more in population received a direct allocation from the U.S. Treasury. Obviously, city is about what, 86,000. So they did not qualify.
Okay,
some programs there, city gets money and the county gets money. In this case, it just went to Berks County because they qualified population-wise.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are some funds that both the county get and the city get, and based on those programs, the county money is for everything outside of the city, and the money that the city gets is everything in the city only, and that's the way those programs are set up, and that's the way they have to be run. In this case, it's open to everyone in the county, no matter whether within, in or outside of the city.
Correct. You're correct.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Barbara, next question, please.
Next question is from Jamie from Mid-Penn Legal Services. For tenants who do not have a written lease, how can landlords' tenants establish the rental amount?
Jack, do you want to take that?
Sure. Well, first of all, we're going to pursue, in any case possible, a written lease. If one does not exist or they're not using a current or existing lease, we're going to ask that one possibly be created. If that's not possible, and there's very few exceptions where it's not possible, then we're going to ask for a written affidavit that's signed by both the tenant and the landlord that this is agreed upon figure for the rent, and we would be asking for supporting documents that's what was been paid in the past. For instance, show us some bank statements that they had been paying in the past $700 a month for that rent to just show consistency.
Okay. Thank you very much. Barbara?
Yes. Next question here is from Jose Martinez from 69 News Edición en Español. I'm not sure if Commissioner Rivera plans to speak Spanish, but it would be really appreciated for our Spanish edition, at least to have an explanation a little bit of the process.
Okay. And Jose, what I'd be happy to do is if you have a few minutes after we're done here, we should be done within the next 5 or 6 minutes. I'd be happy to communicate with you. We can set up a Teams meeting. Barbara can email you her phone number and her email address. She'll send that to you through a private reply there. Communicate with her and we can talk a few minutes after this. I'll be happy to explain the program in Spanish and answer any questions that you have in Spanish. Okay?
Okay, next question is from Lisa with Destination Realty. Must a judgment be provided, or is this to avoid court procedures?
A judgment does not have
I'll
to be
take that.
provided. No. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Take that, Jack.
It does not have to be a court-ordered eviction. It's to avoid some of those costs. So we really, in normal situations, we'd be asking for at least the first stage of the eviction process. That is not a requirement on this. So we would possibly ask if there's been a 10-day notice to quit given to the tenant. But as we said earlier in the program, they do not have to be in arrears. So we will not have to have a court-ordered eviction, so we can avoid some of those costs and necessary time for the landlord to go through that process.
Thank you. The next question is from Michael Sedoti. If a tenant did receive the PHFA program assistance, are they still eligible for this program? I know that, I believe you already touched on this, but this question came in at about 4:04, so.
Yes, they're still eligible, but we can't pay for the same months that we paid. If you're in 750 and we paid 750 with the PHFA program for, let's say, October, November, we can't take this program and double pay for those months. So yes, they're still eligible, but we're not going to, you can't double, we're not going to double pay, so to speak, for the months that were paid by the PHFA. We can pay beyond those, but we're not going to pay for the same months we paid with the PHFA program. But yes, they are eligible.
Okay, and also, Ken, you are going to verify if, let's say, the rent was $1,000, PHFA paid $750, they still owe $250. You're going to verify if this program would be able to pay that difference, but that's something you're not sure of yet.
That's correct. We'll kind of verify that and look at that later, Commissioner.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, so Michael, what I will ask you to do, if that is the case, that some months the rent was more than $750, some of it was covered by PHFA, the first $750, but there's still a balance due for the rest of that month. I would say give it a couple weeks and then reach out to Jack at the Berks Coalition to End Homelessness, and hopefully they'll have an answer at that point as to whether this program will be able to cover the difference between the $750 and the full amount of the rent, okay? Because right now they don't have that, but they're going to look into it.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Facebook, from Julissa Perez from Sinking Spring. Hello, are Sinking Spring residents able to apply for this program? Also,
Yeah.
is child support considered, oh, I'm sorry. There's more to the question. It says, also, is child support considered an income for this program? It starts March 8th. What's the due date to apply for this program?
Jack, you want to take that one?
Sure. The due date is, it starts March 8th, and that we want applications for the program to be done by the last day in August, which I believe is August 30th or 31st. And then the payments can be made up until the end of this year. Child support is not going to be included in your income verification.
Okay, and yes, Julissa, Sinking Spring, you are able to apply. It's available to anyone within the county of Berks. So. Okay.
Correct.
And Barbara, are there any other questions?
I do not have any other questions posted here in the Q&A.
Okay, and I did see Jose Martinez replied, so Barbara, just make sure you get Jose your contact information so I can speak with him after we're done here with this live event.
Sure thing.
Okay, is there anything that anyone else on this program would like to add, or any other questions for Ken
Yes.
or Jack? Yep.
Yes, this is Commissioner Leinbach. Two things. First of all, thank you very much, Ken and Jack. Like I said at the beginning, you've done a great job on the program that was in place last year. It was a no-brainer to reach out to both of you and your organizations to handle this today. One question that unfortunately we have to deal with, even when we're talking about helping people, and you've alluded to this, but if you could just talk to it a little bit, and that is, there's always people out there trying to scam the system. What are some of the key things that are in place for somebody that's saying, how do you make sure you're really helping the people that have needs and the system isn't being scammed? Just talk a little bit about what you're doing, how these requirements seek to limit the scam impact.
Jack, you want to go ahead with that?
Sure. First of all, the number one aspect, Commissioner Leinbach, is that no money is going to be paid to any tenant individually, not for rent or for utilities. It can only be paid to the utility company or to the landlord. And then we have a system where we can check to see whether there's been any financial payment. In addition to Ken's program that he administered this spring in the PHFA program, we are administrating the ESG CARES Act funding, or possibly the half funding from the county, and that's all been put into our HMIS database. So we've got a pretty good control partner in our computer database that shows some record of assistance that's been provided in the past. That's the number one. A place where this could go into an area where someone could be paid twice. So we are very, very strict income guidelines. We have very strict income verification. So between those three things, it's going to be pretty difficult for someone just to make up a program or a plan.
I totally agree with Jack. That's right. We're going to do, we think we have enough controls in place that will be the exception if something happens.
And those are good answers. I appreciate it. We want to make sure the taxpayers know ultimately they're paying for this program, that we are making sure people that need it are going to get it, and there's protections in place. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very good question, Commissioner Leinbach, and thank you for bringing that up. There are two more questions, which are important questions. So Barbara, do you want to read these other two questions that came in?
Sure. First one here is from Jessica at Mid-Penn Legal Services. If a landlord does not want to participate in the rental assistance program and just wants the tenant out of the property, can the tenant use the funding? Can the tenant use the funding to be used towards a security deposit and rent with a new lease elsewhere?
Jack,
I can take that,
handle the situation. Why don't you?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We know that there's going to be some that the eviction process still went through, or that the landlord is for some reason wants to end that arrangement or end that relationship. So we can go on to the rapid rehousing side of the equation and help someone with their security deposit and rent going forward. So absolutely, it can help in both sides of this. It can help keep, the number one thing would be to keep someone in the home that they're already are in. But if that case is not feasible, then we'll help somebody and a family or an individual get into a new home and to a new arrangement.
Thank you. The next question is from Facebook, from Holly Wolf from Supportive Services for Veterans Families at Opportunity House. If we are currently having clients subsidized by our program, can we have them enroll in this program?
The answer is yes. We have to consider the subsidy, but the program can essentially pay what the client, I'll say the client is paying. Correct, Jack? I mean, there is a provision to help people that are in some kind of subsidized housing. You just can't double pay what the other programs pay.
That's correct, Ken. So in the instances that she's speaking about, if there's $1,000 rent and the subsidy from the government for that veteran is $700, the only thing that we could possibly look at in that case would be the $300 that's coming out of the pocket of that individual.
Correct.
Okay, so I believe that is the end of the questions. Thank you very much for your information, both Ken and Jack. Thank you for all the work you do here in Berks County. I know these programs aren't easy to run, so thank you for the time and effort put into it.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for having us on the program.
Sure. And the next Wednesday, just to let everyone know, we will be having our update as well. And next Wednesday, we will be talking about the CHIRP program. All of these acronyms are very interesting. The CHIRP program is it's a COVID housing industry grant. Hospitality industry grant, in which there was money set aside by the state government to help those businesses, specifically in the hospitality industry, that were affected by COVID. And we'll be talking about this next Wednesday at 3:30 again here through Microsoft Teams Live, on Facebook, BCTV as well, and YouTube. There is some information up on the rebuildberks.com website. That program will be administered through the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. So if you want some information on that, go to rebuildberks.com. Again, that is rebuildberks.com, and you'll find information there. That program opens on March the 15th, and that has a 3-week application process. And then after the 3 weeks, the application will be reviewed and the money will be allocated at that point. Berks County is getting $4.77 million for that, and the grants will be between $5,000 and $50,000, the maximum depending on the annual gross sales of the business, as well as COVID-related expenses that are looked into, a formula that needs to be completed for that application. So please join us next Wednesday at 3:30 for more information on the CHIRP program. And if there's nothing else, we will conclude the program at this point. Thank you very much.